I'm just not sure the collar hurry is big enough. This is Tom Brady. He's not just going to retire. Lady, big fan of the show. Appreciate Brian Murphy to my left, making sure everything's smooth, crispy, buttery. James Harden is systematically ruining the game of basketball. The most overrated player. I'm the Chicago Bears with a champion season. And I'm sure the stars is happy to have Antonio back. If you thought you were going to get Zion, that's your bad. Now listening to Open Season, your host, Billy.
Good evening and welcome to Open Season. I'm your host, Billy Allen, sitting here with Frankie Bradica. We've got a whole lot to talk about tonight. Starting out with the Sox and the baseball playoffs. Who do you think's going to win the World Series? Aaron Judge's year. The Red Sox finally going to spend. We'll get on to the Patriots a little bit, wrap that up, along with some of the disappointments in the NFL this year. The Broncos, the Raiders. Talk about the Giants and the Jets, who are off to pretty hot starts, surprising people. And, you know, the Bengals are disappointing some people. But also, do you believe in teams like the Eagles? We'll also get on to the NBA season a little bit. Draymond Green. God, could that guy be any more hateable? Just unbelievable. And then this French kid, we'll talk about him. But Frankie, as we kick things off, starting out with baseball playoffs, what are the biggest storylines you're following? Who do you think is going to win the World Series? And, what's got you most excited about the playoffs right now?
I mean, I think the Dodgers and Yankees would be the ideal matchup for the league. I'd like to see the Padres win it, even though they're a team of unlikable people. That can be a Rams-like situation for the sport. They spent a lot of money. They are in win now mode. They've got some high-priced stars, and they would have to get there by upsetting the Dodgers in the first round. So I just think that would be the most compelling. That would be my pick if I could get to choose it myself. But I just think, are the Yankees, surely they blow it up if they come up short, right? And that I think is kind of the most interesting storyline, independent of who wins.
Yeah, that's what we're all rooting for, right? The Dodgers leaving Craig Kimbrell, obviously no stranger to the Red Sox off the NLDS roster. What'd you think that was about?
He hasn't been elite in quite some time, and he's kind of a D-bag in the locker room. It's addition by subtraction. I hate that long stare he does. And they've had it with him, much like I had years ago.
The only thing worse than that is the arm hang. Remember, Rod Beck? That is just like, come on, let's get on with it. But hopefully with the pitch clock, when they introduce that, there'll be nothing like that. But let's see. And then who do you think is ultimately gonna win the World Series?
I think it's gonna be the Braves. I'd love to see them go back, but they've got such a young group of talent locked up. I'd like to see this as the beginning of something of a dynastic run for them.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to the Red Sox, obviously, a couple huge free agents for them to sign, Devers as well as Bogarts. I think they're finally going to sign these guys. I think that John Henry is going to be a little upset that now that they're obviously losing money at the gate. Frankie, do you think they're finally going to spend and bring some of these guys in? I feel like I'm looking forward to the next year with the Red Sox. It was a tough year this year, but we all know the formula. They kind of like to go last to first. It's been a couple of years of last, so maybe we'll get a year of first. What do you think?
I don't think so. Let me rephrase. They were top 8 in money spent this year. So it's not that they weren't spending money. I think they're going to continue to spend Oakland A money, but at a significantly higher price tier, which is what Chaim Bloom was brought in to do, and what I think they're going to keep doing. I hope it's not. I think it is.
Well, I guess what you're totally correct on. They do spend money, but they've kind of like come up with this new formula. It's like, they'll sign all these crappy 3-year deals. They won't sign these studs for these big contracts. So to at least see them spending that way to sign someone like a Mookie Betts that they've been hesitant to do, I think that would be a move in the right direction at least.
They offered him a lot of money. He didn't want to be here.
If they pay, it's all about what you're getting paid. Let's be real. I mean, nobody wants to be there. Then you give the contract and you pay an extra $20 million, and all of a sudden they want to be there. Like
in the NBA and the MLB, where you go matters, and what you think they have matters. In the NFL and the NHL, it's pretty much just the best contract is where they're going to end up. I just think more factors went into it. I think the Red Sox offered him comparable money, and he decided not to come back.
Interesting. So it's like a Juan Soto situation. Then he just wouldn't sign.
Precisely.
Okay.
I think the Red Sox must spend money. I think another year of what we've seen the last 3 years, where they do nothing at the trade deadline and their team just plummets post July, would be catastrophic. I mean, it's been a long time since Boston was a Red Sox city, but 3 years in last place is going to be a problem.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think it already is going to be. I think that Chaim Bloom will be carefully watched, and I think there's going to be a lot of pressure from John Henry and up top to make sure that he spends and buys these guys, because they can't continue on like this.
Can we put a number on it?
The only people that are consuming the product are the college kids who can buy the tickets for the college nights that are like $10. I think those are the only tickets that are being sold at Fenway. So, it's definitely starting to hit John Henry's wallet.
Put a number
and that's where they pay attention and get involved.
Put a number on it. What are the odds we bring back you got me thinking Mookie now. What are the odds we bring back Devers? What are the odds we bring back Bogarts?
I honestly feel like it's really high that they'll bring back both of them. I feel like they would honestly, people would light cars on fire if they didn't sign Devers. So I almost want to say that's like 100%. And then I feel like, I would say that I'd say like there's a damn good chance they're going to sign Bogarts too. I just feel like John Henry is going to, so I don't know what you want to make the odds. I mean, what are you saying? If they put the odds on 1.5 of one of those guys, will they sign them both? Or
if the over under was 1.5, it'd be under. I don't think we're bringing back Bogarts, even though I want us to. Devers is a must. He's too young. You cannot draft that kid, bring him up through the system, let him actually perform for you, and then not give him money when you're a big market team. Cannot let that happen.
What if they gave Bogarts like a 5-year, $125 million deal or something like that? Do you think you don't think they could come together on some type of ground like that, or you think?
I don't think they're going to offer him that type of deal.
Okay.
And I think they should. You know what I mean? I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. I don't think that's a bad maneuver. I just think they're not going to do it. They didn't do it for Beckett either.
No, I'm hesitant that they won't do that. And I did feel like it was going to be more so Devers, but I just feel like now with the fact that they're losing money and that this is starting to affect John Henry, I think he's just going to, those are the two guys that I feel like everyone wants to sign. He's hearing the things from around town. I just think they're going to sign these guys.
But does he still care? This many World Series in, this many years into ownership, this many things into his portfolio, does he still care the same way?
Again, I don't think he cares the same way that when he joined, it was like they were on a mission to get a World Series for them. But I think he does care in the sense of like, I'm losing money. Like, I'm going to turn this around. Like, he may not spend like this every year, but I feel like this is a year that they're going to spend. And, to your point, they do spend, but just spend on some of these big ticket people also. With that being said, why don't we flip the page, and why don't you give us this day in sports, Frankie?
All right, let me go through this quickly. 1911, Ty Cobb wins inaugural MVP, gets a car for his troubles. 1923, Babe Ruth homers in the 4th and 5th inning. The Yankees go on to win 4-2 at the Polo Grounds in New York. Love that stadium. 450 feet to center field. Basically, a foul tip can get you a home run to the sidelines. Very, very stupid park. Loved it. 1927, Lou Gehrig wins MVP because at that time you could not win MVP twice. So Babe Ruth, who hit a then record 60 home runs, was not eligible to win it. Talk about a terrible, terrible rule. I'm glad that's not in effect. 1967 World Series. 3 straight home runs, Carl Yastrzemski off of 2 separate pitchers. Red Sox win that game, lose the series. Obviously, they were in the middle of not winning anything for close to a decade. 1992, Deion Sanders does his whole plays 3 games in 2 days thing. 1 for the Falcons, 2 for the Braves. Doesn't do a whole lot in any of those 3 games, but we gloss over that because what an athletic feat that is. And then due to the pandemic lengthened season, the Lakers win a World Series in the bubble. Or win an NBA championship in the bubble.
Whoa. You don't have to give that first bullet there. I mean, you just mentioned that they won the,
the Clippers dramatically collapse. You got role players scoring career highs. Duncan Robinson looked like a future superstar. You had Jamal Murray.
Look, Frankie, it's not this day in specifics. You just tell us who won the championship. When LeBron's involved, yeah. So, all right. Well, why don't we get on to obviously we'll touch on the Patriots. Big win for them. 29-0 at home this weekend against the Lions, and kind of like a get right victory for them. The defense has really been getting their footing under them the last couple games. Obviously they're playing better on defense without Mac. And they're not making a lot of mistakes on offense. I mean, Bailey Zappi looks pretty pedestrian, and I don't think he's the long-term answer, but this is definitely fun. And they're going to play a couple pretty bad teams here. Frank, how much longer do you think Mac is going to be on the sidelines?
I originally thought he's going to be out for about 6 weeks. Given that they're winning with Zappi, I think that'll be sooner, but I wouldn't rush the kid back. I don't think I never thought Mac had a high ceiling. I certainly don't want him playing at 80, 85%. Let me get him at 100. We're not going to be good with or without him. So if I'm the organization, I have no priority to get him back. But I do think because they're winning with Zappi, he'll be back quicker. I do.
Yeah. No, I think that'll speed him up. But yeah, you just wonder from his standpoint, is he looking to run back? And then you also worry just from the Patriots standpoint, it's like, well, you don't want him to get hurt again, and then they kind of have to take a step back. It's like you want him to come back and him be the quarterback for this team for the rest of the season all the way out, So it's like, let's wait till he's a little bit more healthy. But, this is the Bailey Zappi thing is starting to get some momentum. But I think when you just look at it, I mean, they were kind of going through it today. I think they had 12 plays in the red zone. 4 of those were pass plays for Zappi. They were all negative. I mean, it's just when you really kind of look at it, anytime he needed to make a throw, he really did. They really called a pretty conservative game for him. So, Frank, are you getting on the Bailey Zappi hype train, or are you excited for Mac to get back?
I didn't see any neither, but I didn't see any throws from Zappi where I'm like, all right, the kid's got balls, and the kid definitely doesn't have size or physical tools. So I don't know what bandwagon there is to get on. At least Taylor Heineke, we've seen him make balls. We've seen him make ballsy plays in the playoffs with no preparation. I agree with Stevenson. Will be a stud. Is a stud. That did sidetrack me, but I don't think Zappi's got size or balls. I just think he's an average guy, and Mac Jones isn't great, but he's better than Zappi. I don't know what bandwagon there is to get on.
Yeah, and I just feel like Detroit really, it's like they played themselves out of that game so quickly. Once it was that 3rd and 2 where they run that stupid, almost reverse handoff or whatever, and then it's 4th and 9, and they end up throwing the pick. I mean, that was the game right there. It's like, I don't understand why they went for it on every single 4th down. And if they were going to go for it on that 4th down, why they didn't just run straight ahead for 2 plays and convert it. I just feel like they really cost themselves a chance. Like they took themselves out of that game damn quick.
Yeah, and I said last week largely that the days of teams shooting themselves in the foot and playing into your hands was over. And I stand by that as a general premise. But people like Nathaniel Hackett and Dan Campbell, I suppose, will always be there to not know how to coach an NFL team. It's just stunning to me that you keep giving buffoons the opportunity to coach professional teams. The Lions should beat us. We are a bad roster. And the coaching disparity was as large as it's going to be in any game this year, and the score reflected that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so what's your takeaway from that game? Because I feel like you hear it on both sides of the street. It's like on one point, it was kind of almost felt like going to the game for the Patriots, it would be a no-win situation where it's like, if they lose that game, people are going to say the Pats lost to the Lions or the worst team ever. They win that game, well, it's just the Lions. So where do you stand on this? Was this a get-right game? Was this just the Lions? How do you feel after they've strung together their 2 strongest performances? Any way you want to slice it, they have been gaining a little bit of momentum over these last couple games.
I like the way you originally phrased it, which was, what's your takeaway? My takeaway is Jack Jones is actually a real player and a damn good draft pick. That kid's got an attitude. That's my takeaway. We've got a defensive back. How do I feel about the winning streak or the get right games? I don't. I think we've played some bad teams and we've won some games. When we play good teams, we are going to lose.
I agree. It's almost, honestly, this feels like a complete facility, a complete, copy of exactly what happened last year. Like, basically they start out like 1-3 or whatever, and then they go through this cake. It's almost like the same thing is going to happen where people are going to think that they're good again. It's going to be like Bill's got his groove back. I almost see the exact same narrative happening with this team. Do you see that unfolding here? Like,
I see the narrative trying to unfold. I don't see us winning whatever it was. I think we went like 6-2 or something last year in the middle of the season. I don't see that happening. But I do see the narrative starting to form anytime we get any traction because the league wants us to be good, and so does the media. We are not good.
Yes, I agree with you. This is one area where we're united. John saying for the first time in the Bill era, I would trade the Pats roster for the Jets roster. No, and we've been saying that the Jets have looked really good. I mean, 2 of the surprise teams really are both coming from New York this year. It's the Giants who, with Brian Daboll, definitely has them clicking in the right direction. For the Jets, they're taking receipts and they've been turning things around a little bit over there also. I've got the running back. I mean, Breece Hall. I mean, this kid is like, I said it a few weeks ago. This is the first time, it's really been a reason to get excited about a Jets running back since Curtis Martin. And I feel like the more and more comfortable, more touches. I mean, he can run it. He can catch it. I mean, he's a pretty dynamic back for the Jets. They have some good offensive weapons. Frankie, what do you think of these teams in New York?
Corey Davis, Mekhi Becton, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore. I mean, Michael Carter, and they've got Breece Hall. They've got Zach Wilson, who's a little small, but we'll let that go. They've got a roster. That comment is not just like not hyperbole. It's actually factual, and I love that. And they're only 3-2, so like let's not put the cart before the horse. But this is the first time we have seen a Jets offense in the ascending direction since like Braylon Edwards and Thomas Jones were on the team. I mean, it's been a long time since you can get excited. The Giants, that's a big win against the Packers. That is a big win when everybody assumes you're a fraud team. You don't have the quarterback yet. It's clear you've got the coach. I think that's abundantly clear. And if Daniel Jones is going to do anything in his contract year, it's clearly take care of the ball. The man is running with what looks like a sprained something in his hand, bloody. He's getting smacked around out there as he runs for 4-yard gains, and he's not fumbling. He's not tripping over his own 2 feet. None of the old Daniel Jones isms. That was an exciting game. The Giants are fun. They hit hard. They're a fun. The Giants are a fun team to watch when you get to watch them.
Yeah, I know it's crazy. They're finally putting things together. I mean, Sterling Shepard. I mean, that guy unfortunately gets hurt every. I mean, that guy has a devastating injury. I feel bad for that guy. That guy gets a serious injury every year.
The Josh Childress of the NFL. I hate to see it.
So unfortunately for him, but I mean, just everything they're doing with, Saquon looks incredible this year. I mean, he's had so much room to run. I really like Dayball. But I also just think it's fun to have these teams. Like, these teams have been complete, these tomato cans the past few years. It's exciting to have these teams doing well in New York. It brings on a different, it's like, okay, the Jets are actually going to play this year. The Dolphins. I mean, this division is a talented division right now when you look at it.
Everybody except for the team in New England is very talented in that division.
Right. Well, hey, they just beat up the Lions. They're on the right track.
The Lions. See, this is what kills me about Patriots Nation. We beat the Giants, or we beat the Lions 29-0, and all of a sudden we've got our groove back. Bill's got his fastball. Patricia's not such a bad decision. No, he is a bad decision. We are bad. Bill is supposed to beat Dan Campbell 100 times out of 100. We are going to lose, maybe to Stefanski, who's an equally bad coach to Campbell, but his team is even more better than ours than the Lions were.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting game for the Browns. I mean, so that's a game for the Browns at home. I mean, they have pretty much. So they have the thing with the Browns though is they have a terrible defense, right? It's like they give up some of the most rushing. I think they give up the 30th most rushing yards or something like that. So it's like another day for Ramondre Stevenson to run all over them. So it's like, I think that game might be a little bit more competitive than we think, but I do think the Patriots will come away with the win on that one. How do you lean as when the Patriots go into Cleveland next weekend?
Logically, I lean Cleveland because I think they can't, as you said, they cannot stop the run. As I said, their coach is a boob. So I do think that we will win, but I'm picking against the Patriots because I'm going to pick against them probably every week. I cannot stand this team. I cannot stand the hubris, and I want us to lose every single game. So I'm going to officially pick the Browns, having no faith in that pick.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, see, you gotta love that. Gotta love a man who stands for his principles. I mean, I feel like I've been really disappointed in the Bengals this year, but I do feel like out of the disappointing teams, they're probably one of the most likely teams to turn things around. For the other disappointing teams like Arizona, are there any teams that you think are, about to hit their groove and kind of get things right and move in the right direction, make the playoffs?
I think the Bengals are in fact the most likely. I'm not. They've got a better defense than they did last year. They've revamped that offensive line only to keep getting Joe Burrow hit. I don't understand what it is they're trying to accomplish there. Just get 5 guys around him. Just get 5 guys better than the 5 guys you have. And you just did that, but do it again because this is embarrassing. It's very, very, very disappointing. The Ravens, they're only 3-2. The Bucks have been slightly underwhelming. I just think there's a parity in this league for the first time. So when we talk about disappointing teams, I'm not sure how many teams are disappointing versus middling. I think the Broncos are for sure a disappointment. And I think rightfully so. I think that offensive line is horrid, much like Cincinnati, and you just don't win if your big guys can't win. And Russell Wilson looks horrible.
Oh my God. I could have never imagined we'd see Russell Wilson look like this. I mean, maybe if you told me it would take a couple of years and maybe he wouldn't be worth that entire contract, but I definitely figured they would at least, win some games this year. Not win a ton of games. I didn't necessarily think they were going to be like a 12-win team or something like that, but at least be a lot more competitive than this. And just felt like, Russell would still have more than this. I feel like even if he had an injury, I would expect more than this. So it's just been, I could have never imagined he'd fall off this much in 1 year. It's been pretty surprising.
He is refusing to run and it just doesn't look like he's getting anybody open. And the Rams point is amazing. It's not unheard of, but it's not often both teams from the Super Bowl come out of the gates looking this bad. I don't think the Rams are going to turn it around this year. I don't have any pause for them long term. I think they'll be fine.
What's the deal with Allen Robinson? That guy can't get open at all this year. It's insane. I mean, he's gone from like a Pro Bowl caliber receiver to he literally can't even get open this season.
He is rangy and crafty with the ability to run routes and very good hands. He cannot separate because he was never athletic, and now he's dealt with injury. He's also 30. He's just not, I mean, Keenan Allen, despite the fact that he has a hamstring.
Well, Frank, when you put it like that, I guess that was a pretty bad point by me.
Well, no.
You were like already wound up, ready to like hit that point.
Because I love Allen Robinson, I'm just not surprised at the decline. I do love him.
Just quickly, you didn't think like first year in that offense? I don't know.
I thought he did all he could in Chicago.
Yeah. I mean, look at some of the opportunities that Odell Beckham had. I just felt like he wasn't going to have to do a whole lot to get open, I guess is what I thought. I was a little bit naive.
I just don't think he gets any separation, and he can run routes. He's just slow. Even when he breaks free, guys can still close on the ball. His quarterback is hurt because Stafford is, and he can't explode or close on anything.
Yeah. So it sounds like none of us are too bullish on the Rams. I wonder what our opinion is on that one. Well, a couple teams that are just always solid, as far as the last couple of years in the AFC, and probably the two teams that everyone anticipates will get to the AFC Championship game, the Bills and the Chiefs. Just amazing what Mahomes does last night. 4 touchdowns, 0 picks. It's like you would have never even noticed that he's missing like the biggest target in the NFL. And they just every year are so competitive, and it just comes down to like Mahomes and Reed. Like you just feel like they're never out of it. As far as like the cream of the NFL, the Eagles have been really good this year. Are you taking them for real, Frankie?
I believe they are for real. I'm buying them as for real. I'm buying them as likely to win their division. I'm buying them as maybe going to win a playoff game. If we're talking about being a Super Bowl contender, no, I'm not buying. Also, think about how quickly the tables turned. The NFC was so dominant last year, at least at the top, versus the AFC. Not the case this year. Not the case. I think the Bills. I think the Chiefs are absolutely the cream. I think that's your Super Bowl. I think it's your Super Bowl before the Super Bowl.
I agree. I mean, that's the best matchup you could get. I mean, obviously, if you got Brady in there somehow, that's probably going to be a better matchup. But
they don't look good.
Yeah, I just feel like, I mean, they could still just get it going, though. I don't know. I mean, it's a bunch of vets that kind of understands. I don't know. Not going to necessarily count them out. Feel like Brady is going to use the football field as his sanctuary to get away from this divorce and all that stuff.
Hasn't he already been doing that for like a decade? Hasn't he already been getting here to the stadium earlier and earlier and earlier in 2 different stadiums for 2 different teams for a decade?
Yeah. But now he's really motivated, Frank. I don't know. I just feel like, when Brady's pissed off, I just wouldn't write that team off. I mean, look at them last year. I mean, they were right back in it again. They're a few plays away from, a couple things here or there. I think they could. They're obviously in a cake division, so they're going to get there. So it's going to be a coin flip. But if they show out in a couple postseason games, they could get back there. Who knows? I'm not saying they're going to make the Super Bowl or anything. But
I'm not counting them out. It's Tom Brady. I'm not counting him out. The man is 45 and still amazing.
If it comes down to they win like 12 games and get in the playoffs, I mean, anything could happen at that point.
Would it surprise me? No, I think, and this is going to sound semantical, like they're a 10-11 win team. I think
their first Super Bowl the Super Bowl that they won in Tampa. Would you have ever assumed they were going to win a Super Bowl that year? No chance. Like, I didn't
No.
think there was any chance. Like, I thought they might get to the playoffs, might win a game or something. Like, that would have been huge, you know.
No, I
So,
was talking a whole bunch of trash. No, I was wrong that year. That was a year filled with humble pie. I was very full that year.
so Josh Dodd says the Cowboys look good. Defense is playing well. Dak coming back. Cooper Rush is kind of doing like exactly almost what Bailey Zappi is doing for this team. It's like just steering the ship, not making a lot, not turning the ball over. And I think it's kind of a similar situation where, it's not like Cooper Rush is going to be the long-term quarterback there. It's just like, do you want him to keep the seat warm a little bit longer for Dak and let him heal a little bit more? Where does he still can't fully grip the football and stuff like that, and maybe some dumb team is going to spend a lot of money on Cooper Rush in the offseason. But, I mean, Frankie, do you see him as an NFL quarterback moving forward, a starting quarterback?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I think he is worse than Gardner Minshew. I think he's worse than Heineke. I just think he is just not a good quarterback. That's what I think. But they're also
saying he's worse for Gardner Minshew for you isn't necessary. I mean, you look at Gardner Minshew as a god. So I mean,
I think that is your baseline standard.
Joe Montana could be below Gardner Minshew on your list. I don't know.
I think that's your bottom tier starting NFL quarterback. I think it starts with those types of guys. Your Gardner Minshews, your Taylor Heineke's. They're awful.
Rush is the type of guy that'll play 10 years as a backup. Yeah, make a ton of money. Exactly.
John Kitna, after he was a starter. Let me back up people in Dallas. Let me back up Carson Palmer in Cincinnati.
Even like a Case Keenum or something like that,
Except Case Keenum got that miraculous run with Minnesota, was it? I couldn't believe that happened.
That was nuts. Yeah, I mean, Rush could, I don't know. I mean, Rush is on a nice little run for himself right now, too.
They have a lot of weapons on that Dallas team.
For sure.
A lot. When you ask me those Garoppolo questions, how many guys can do what Cooper Rush is doing? I know Dallas hasn't been able to put him.
So now that question applies then. Okay.
Well, Cooper Rush's sample size is not 40 NFL freaking games.
Yeah. 40 games where they do whatever they can to get the ball out of his hands. Yeah.
40 games where Jimmy G wins 70% of them. That's all I know.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think Rush is exactly that. Like, he's basically shown himself that he's probably like a top backup is basically what he's showing right now.
Why are you rushing back Dak though? Like, I don't know that Dak is an elite quarterback in his own. I know Dallas thinks he is, but why would you rush him back if you can't grip the football on his throwing hand?
Also, I know that it's been a couple freak things for Dak, but can we not say that he's injury prone at this point in his career? Like, I'm expecting him to basically miss games at this point, even though, I mean, the first few years he was kind of like an Iron Man almost, but it's like at this point, are you not I mean, is he injury prone at this point? It's been freak injuries, but he's missed some time over the past few years.
A broken thumb's not that big a deal. I tend to think if he was in the playoffs, he would get shot up and he would play. I don't mind that. The other injuries have been kind of horrific and out of nowhere, freak injuries, if you will. I don't know that I'm ready to say injury prone, but I've always thought overrated. I've always thought, he's somewhere 12 to 18 in the league. And that's not what he's paid like, and that's not what he's asked to do. Every time they try to take it off the ground and put it in his hands, something bad happens to that team, and they can't get out of their own way. And I can't wait for him to come back so that they can start losing. Despite him being way better than Cooper, their offensive numbers will go up, and they will lose more games. I promise.
And no one who's had, someone who's had no problem losing games has been Matt Rule in Carolina. That guy's got 4 years and $40 million left on that contract. Just what a colossal disaster for him. I think Belichick actually is a Rule fan, if I'm not mistaken. That'd be interesting if, that Belichick loves getting those contracts where somebody else is going to be paying for it. Like, honestly, you feel like that could be a perfect guy that for a half year ends up on the Pats staff or something. Imagine he finally names the offensive coordinator. It's Matt Rule.
It could be. If he was signed as a coordinator, we'd have to pay him more money.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So be a special assistant,
Yes. Special advisor to the quarterback.
whatever the inflator was listed as.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, no.
Try
Don't get me started on Patriots scandals. You know how fast I can fly off the handle. Don't get me started.
Well, hey, I wonder if we're going to hear some more about those Patriot scandals now that Brady and Giselle, there's going to be some. Brady's going to have to dole out some hush money, I think, if he doesn't want some of the secrets to get out as far as that, the PED use,
She's
all
a
that.
supermodel. I'm sure there's secrets on both ends. Also, they're rich. They both signed prenups. This should be the easiest case in court in the history of time outside of the kids. From a financial standpoint and a non-disclosure standpoint, this should be very easy for the courts.
What, because everything's prenup to the high heavens before they even got
and
involved?
because they're both rich, so who cares? Both of you shut the hell up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this shouldn't be difficult. We are backed up in the court systems forevermore in this country. Let's not waste time with two rich people who signed prenups.
Oh God! Hey man, you know what the Instagram views that this will put? This is a top initiative with for the clicks and everything.
Let's figure out what's best for the kids and let's move on, please.
So that's an absolute crazy situation. Now, does he get paid? The one thing I don't know is, does he get paid that $40 million that's left on that deal? Like, how does that work if you get canned?
Yeah,
he does get paid that.
Unless they agree to a buyout during his release, he gets paid that no matter what.
Okay. Because, if you were a player, you would never get that all paid out. It's crazy.
Yes, but this is coaches, you see.
Yeah. No, it's just to highlight, again, how they never value the players, I guess.
I bet you coaches get health insurance, too. You see what I'm saying? This is very NFL of them. But no, he's going to get his money.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess that's what happens when you freaking line up for Baker Mayfield. It's like, what do you guys expect down there? I would rather go with Sam Bradford. He's got more talent. I'll coach him up. I didn't even think that was much of an upgrade. That's what happens when you hit your wagon at Baker Mayfield, is all I'll have to say.
Baker Mayfield is too small. He makes awful decisions. I don't know why they hitched their wagon to him.
$40 million worth of McDonald's for life for Matty Rule.
Listen,
he's going to be your special assistant on the Patriots.
He did look very much like a cartoon character. He always looked like he thought that he was being clever, but really he was just shocked by what was going on. Matt Rule was funny to watch. He's a funny looking man.
Zappy has more talent than Baker Mayfield.
That's not true.
Let's see, what else did we? Oh, so and then so for the Odell Beckham sweepstakes, where do we think he's going? Do you think he's just going to go to a team like the Bills, or you think he's going to get recruited over there by Von Miller, go there for a minimum contract?
I want so badly for Odell and McCaffrey to end up in Buffalo this year. I'd like to see. I'm waving the pom poms for Buffalo. I know I know my team's bad, and I've already seen Mahomes win one. Let Allen win one and give me another Peyton Brady thing for the next 10 years. Give me what's best for the league.
Oh, you're gross.
Give me Odell winning back-to-back Super Bowls with him playing well down the stretch. Give me all the narrative storylines I want. Give me Von Miller winning back-to-back Super Bowls. Give it to me. Give it in my veins. Hook it up.
Justin says OBJ to Green Bay. That'd be great. I'd love to see him going back and forth with Aaron Rodgers.
He's a 2 now. He's not a 1 anymore. Him behind Diggs, super productive, much like him behind Cup. Him is the number 1 guy, gonna get locked up, gonna get frustrated, definitely not gonna get along with Aaron Rodgers. No, those two they're not compatible, those two.
Well, hey, if Lazard were to play the Patriots every game, he'd be a number 1 wideout. He had he was unstopped. The Pats had no answer for him.
Well, don't worry about it because Jack's getting there.
Oh God. All right. Do we have any other? What is he even saying that you nailed?
I don't know. Could be anything really. Let's be realistic.
No. I'm sure it'll be easy to specify.
No, it's probably the fact that those two divas will not be on the same page for any length of time. And yes, I agree. Compared to their receivers, he's Jerry Rice. In material, those two won't get along. I assure you.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, why? I feel like the NFL would like something like that. Like they only want Green Bay to be more entertaining.
Do you believe in the Eagles before we move on to the NBA? Do you believe in the Eagles?
I feel like they're gonna crush that division, so they're gonna make the playoffs. Then anything could happen in the playoffs. I don't know. They have a really good offensive line. They have a really good defensive line, and they have some good talent. I just don't know how consistent of a passer Hurts is, but he seems to be improving every single week that he's behind center. So,
are they legit Super Bowl contenders?
I don't know how many teams are legit Super Bowl contenders outside of the Bills and the Chiefs. I mean, it's like those are the two teams that are really going to just, it's like I feel like Kansas City's going to beat anybody. I don't know who's going to beat Kansas City, honestly.
If the Dolphins,
but I feel like could the Eagles get there? Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're showing that they have the talent, and if Jalen Hurts can be consistent, I mean, like I didn't think they would be this good this year. I thought they would make the playoffs, but I didn't think they'd be this good. I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl. I don't think they'll get to the Super Bowl, but I mean, why not?
See, I thought the Broncos would be better than the Eagles. See, I've been wrong many times in my life.
Fly, Eagles, fly. Super Bowl loss to the Bills. Yeah, see that would be entertaining. That'd be a good Super Bowl.
They have one of my favorite things, two elite wide receivers who do not do the same thing. Very often when you get elite wide receivers, they all kind of do the same thing. They have two complementary elite wide receivers, two guys that can legitimately be a number one on the same team, and I love their offense. I really do. Miles Sanders, while I've always thought he's overrated, in a team with that many weapons, can catch, can run, perfectly complementary. I don't like Jalen Hurts. I think he's got like 19 rushing touchdowns in his first 24 career starts or something. That's bonkers. Eventually, he's going to take that hit at the goal line like Cam Newton hit, like Cam Newton took. Eventually, he's going to get one of those hits, and you just don't want to see it. I don't like this many designed runs, but I mean, they're winning me over week by week because they're not just putting up a ton of points and yards. They're beating good teams.
Yeah, and also like when they come, I mean that comeback against Jacksonville, like it just shows that they're showing that they can win in a couple different ways. They're showing they can win against adversity. I mean, every week they're kind of proving themselves a little bit. Just like the Patriots are after that crushing victory over the line.
We're gonna lose to Cleveland.
Are they going to lose to Cleveland?
Yes, we're going to lose to Cleveland. We're going to lose almost every game we play because we suck and we think we're the smartest people in the room still.
See, I think they're going to beat Cleveland just because they're going to be able to dominate so much on the running game. I mean, they're just going to hand it off to Ramondre Stevenson every time.
Schematically, what you're saying makes sense, but I'm going to continue to disagree because I just don't like the Patriots.
Okay.
How'd you feel did you get to see Pickett's debut? I know we didn't talk about that before the show, but did you get to see it?
No.
I felt like it was Allen-esque. A couple, you really can't teach that throws, and a lot of, this kid really doesn't understand how to play football. Like Josh Allen, his rookie year, really didn't quite understand what a quarterback's job was. And I'm not sure that Pickett does either, but for a smaller kid in frame, he can sling it.
Yeah,
he can absolutely.
It's amazing, like what Josh Allen was his first couple of years.
57 completion percentage.
Yeah, I mean he did not look like he would be what he is right now.
No, but neither did Hurts and Pickett, and this is kind of my point. We might just be entering a time where on your first team, we may not be able to evaluate if you're a bust. A lot of these guys are hitting their second contract and getting a stride. I mean, I know Derrick Henry has been with the same team, but his first 2 years, they were giving reps to Dion Lewis. That like he was the backup. Like
you love discussing that.
because I think it's hilarious, and it killed me in fantasy. And it was never at any point like Derrick Henry wasn't.
You definitely lost money as a result of that.
Yes, scarred me for life. But
um, I mean that's damning if you're losing out. I mean, that just seems like it's impossible. It's like, if you were telling kids, like, and I will tell you the story of when Deion Lewis started over Derrick Henry. It's like, yeah, what do you smoke? That does not seem like it was ever possible. Like, let's give way to Derrick Henry.
I think, and I don't know if Whitey's going to call in tonight, but I think that they absolutely should have kept starting Trubisky and tank and go for that draft pick. But if you were going to start him in this game, a game that we knew was going to be bad, which was my argument last week, 38-3 they lost. Got their doors blown off. No need to start him in that game to make that choice. I felt that was dumb. But if you were going to start him now, you should have started him all year. Because he needs to have those growing pains. He's got Josh Allen to him. He's got Ben Roethlisberger to him, honestly. He's very, very raw. He's early on in his career going to lose them some games, but he can sling it. If he's smart enough to be coached up, I think they should be, certainly more hopeful than we are with Mac.
As long as he gets the ball to Pickens, I'll be happy.
I like Pickens. I picked both of them up in fantasy. I thought it was important to get both of them on the uptick.
I know we mentioned Brian Robinson earlier in the year. Did you see that he came out to many men this weekend?
There's a lot of people in multiple age demographics that will be lost on. And apparently it was almost lost on him because he didn't know of the song until recently.
Oh, man.
For people of a certain age and vintage, for people in my age group, this is a nice decanted red wine. This was amazing to see this kid come out to that song that confidently, to already have a larger workload than Antonio Gibson. I know a large part of that was game script, and they weren't going to be running in that game. But it was amazing to see. It hit me right in the nostalgia glands. It's everything that's right with sports. I loved him walking onto the field with nothing. No theatrics would have been amazing, but him coming out to many men was everything it needed to be, and I freaking loved it.
That is such a good point that, like, he doesn't even know what song that is. Like,
he doesn't even know how great it is.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. So yeah, moving on to the NBA. We talked a little bit about the GM surveys and stuff last week. Obviously the Draymond Green thing is the big thing that happened this week. They first came out with the videos talking about or the reports saying that they were jawing in practice and, there was pushing and stuff like that. Then you just see the video and he just straight up walks over to him and kind of cold clocks him without him really, just shoves him and then clocks him. And I mean, man, I would not be able to be teammates with somebody who hit me in the face like that. I just feel like Draymond does so many things that you would not accept from it. He kind of reminds me of like Marcus Smart on the Celtics. It's like, if other players did this, you'd kick them off the team. But when he does it, it's like he's revered for it. I'm just kind of tired of his crap. And I mean, whoever released that video from Golden State, I freaking love them. That's awesome. But hopefully, I think this is probably going to end the Draymond Green thing, things a little bit earlier. I don't think he's going to – I feel like this is going to be the end of the run for him in Golden State. This is probably going to be his last year there.
I'm glad that I let you speak without interrupting, and I'm glad that we didn't talk about which side we were going to take before the show because I couldn't disagree more. I really couldn't. There's only one villain in this circumstance, and it's the person that you love. Whoever leaked this video – needs to be fired immediately. This is horrible. If we think this is the only punch thrown in the NBA preseason, we're shockingly naive. This was not the only punch thrown throughout 30 mini camps, each one with each team having 20 players. Not the only fight. So sorry. And for the record, Jordan Poole is arguing for the same max contract that Draymond's arguing for, that Andrew Wiggins is arguing for, that they're all playing for. And for the record, Poole's going to get it, and he deserves it. But Poole also needed to get punched in the face, I'm sure, and deserved it and got it. I have no doubt. As somebody with a mouth like mine, Billy, playing sports every minute of the day as a youth, as they say, I've been punched in the face by many teammates. Should not shock you. I have had to punch many a teammates. Shouldn't shock you. The only villain in this circumstance is whoever lets that get leaked. The fact that there was leaks of how contentious it was during camp, and then that video gets leaked is an indictment on the organization and how they're handling prosperity in their later parts of their dynasty. It is not Draymond's fault. And for the record,
were you in your mid-30s when you punched these people, Frank? I don't think so.
Well, was I still playing a childhood game in my mid-30s? No, I wasn't good enough. But it's still a locker room. Let's not pretend that they should have some higher form of etiquette just because they're older. 2 years ago, we were throwing chairs around in our locker room. That Marcus Smart guy who you said, he'd be defended in a circumstance like this. Well, when him and Jaylen Brown were throwing chairs at each other, I'm pretty sure there was no repercussions for either one of them. This happens in that league. This happens in all leagues. It's just that TMZ got a video. There's only one villain, and it's whoever let this leak. Draymond Green did something that happens all the time in sports.
Is it, you think that's totally fine for him to just walk up and clock someone like that in the middle of practice?
You make it seem arrested and fired. This is okay, fine, but you don't work in a locker room. This is where people drive me nuts with this. If this happened at my job, this didn't happen at your job. This happened with 2 professional athletes likely on testosterone. It didn't happen at your job. That doesn't make any sense. And you said he walked up to him and cold cocked him. That is a pro athlete walking up to another pro athlete. I have news for you. Jordan Poole knew he was going to swing and chose not to swing. That's on Jordan Poole. Like, he's grown up on basketball courts in locker rooms.
It's on Jordan Poole because he didn't swing? Come on.
No, it's not. But neither one is innocent. Neither one of those 2 people
are. Frank, if I'm talking crap to you in a game, that means you can come up to me and punch me. I mean, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like,
that's not what I said. But also, didn't Kobe elbow his teammates? Didn't Jordan punch his teammates in the face more than once? This is something that happens in that league. This is why are we shocked by this?
I just feel it might happen to teach someone a lesson. It doesn't happen when some old jealous teammate on the team. It's like I feel like the reason for this happen is just jealousy over the fact that Poole's going to get a contract and he's not. It's not like he's teaching him a lesson or anything like that.
But what if Jordan Poole's not taking the summer seriously and the veterans really can't play as hard as they need to because they've really had played 110 games for the last decade? So they're looking at Jordan Poole to take the next step, and he's fucking around in practice. And then he says something smart. He's going to get punched. I'm just like, I don't know why this is so shocking. This is not that big a deal, but the fact that there's outrage about it is hysterical to me. This is a very locker room thing. This is a very summer camp-esque thing. If this happened in July, much bigger.
That's the whole thing. Maybe it's a summer camp-esque thing. I just don't think, I don't know. I don't think it was necessary to punch somebody like that in practice. I wouldn't want to be teammates with somebody who's going to punch me like that in practice. Like, F you, dude. We're in our 30s. Like, what do you do?
You've never been on a team where two guys fought. You've never been on a team.
I've been on a team where 2 guys fought, not where one guy walked up and punched someone in the face like that.
You think that that's just what happened? You don't think there was like a precursor to that? You don't think that there was
obviously he was talking crap. I heard the reports like he was talking crap to him. He was mentioning like, oh, you're gonna get a max contract for the Kings. Like, oh, did the girls at Michigan State like when you would take the charge or something? Like that's apparently what he was saying to him, pissing him off. But if I'm talking crap to you, that it's like when I'm talking crap to you, it doesn't. I don't assume I can get to a point where you're just going to come up and punch me in the face. Like, what the hell is that?
That's every sport ever. Again, if you were working for software or hardware or Ace or a paint company or you worked in sales or the stock market, this makes no sense and you should alert the authorities. If you are a pro athlete, this is par for the course. I just don't understand why there's outrage about it. And Jordan Poole talking like that should at least be able to defend himself. I'll tell you what's not going to happen. I'm not going to say let come out of my mouth, which reportedly come out of his mouth, and then be shocked as this dude walks up to me and throws. I would have been in defensive position ready to go, whether I won or lost, because I was the one talking trash. Like the idea that, oh, I don't want to play with a guy who's going to stand up for himself after I'm talking trash. And by the way, you're both standing up for themselves. So it's not about that. But you cannot play the victim card as a pro athlete. Again, if you work at a Best Buy, this is unacceptable. If you are a pro athlete, I don't care how old you are, this is par for the course. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm at least glad you're sorry. I appreciate you.
I just don't get it. I don't even understand how that can be the perspective.
I just feel like you assume like when you're on a team, you guys are kind of pulling in the right direction. I mean, I don't know. They're in their third. Like, I get if you're like, if you like smash into someone, like somebody fouls you hard. Like, I totally get if someone fouls you too hard and you get up and try to swing at them. That makes sense to me all day long. But like to just march up to somebody like that, I just thought. And again, we don't have a film on everybody, but I don't know how many locker rooms that's happening and where somebody's just going to march up to you for, again, somebody smashes into you and you guys fight after that, that like makes sense to me. Like there was contact.
Weren't there punches thrown in the intra practices between the Panthers and Patriots this year? Like wasn't there a fight during training camp where Aaron Donald was out here swinging like
they were fighting the opposing team.
Sure, but fights happen all the time, and it's okay. And as far as teammates going at each other, didn't Javaris Crittenton and Gilbert Arenas bring guns in? Didn't Michael Jordan punch his teammates in the face? Doesn't Kobe have multiple videos out there where he's walking in talking about how these guys can't guard me? He's elbowing Sasha Vujacic. Don't we have video of Jimmy Butler talking about these guys can't guard my shit before getting fired from his team? And you know what I mean? That's a verbal punch. That's every bit as distracting as what's just taken Ben Simmons out of the game for a year. I'm just saying, like, it's not that befuddling to me. You were talking trash. This guy's a hothead. You didn't even duck and cover. I'm glad you got punched in the face. I bet next time you either don't say it or you swing back. I bet you don't respond like a bitch again. That's what I'm sure about.
Well, I hope you get punched in the face a significant amount of times. I feel like you're no. I just feel like you're like basically making it his fault that he got punched in the face, which is not the case.
No, I don't think he should be shocked, and I don't think he's a victim. I don't think there's a victim in this circumstance. There's no victim, and there's one villain, and the one villain is whoever let this leak. Because you can handle this in house. You can absolutely handle this in house.
So are you buying any of the Clippers hype this year? I mean, so many people think that just with a healthy Kawhi and a healthy Paul George that they're going to be a really strong team. I mean, they added John Wall, but it just seems like a lot of people think that they're going to have a pretty competitive year, that they're going to make the Western Conference Finals or something like that. What do you think about the prospects of the Clippers? Curious to think.
If they make the playoffs healthy, this will be a championship favorite. The last 3 times we've seen Kawhi in the playoffs, he has been that man. He has been him. As much as I love LeBron and as much as I love Steph and the best player in the world, and I love, Giannis and KD, the best player in the world when he's been healthy has been Kawhi for the last 3 times he's been healthy in the playoffs.
Okay.
John Wall hasn't played in years, and he's coming off of being suicidal. I don't say that in a joking manner. Mental health is a serious thing, but I just don't know that that's somebody I want to bank on or that I want to necessarily have high expectations for. That seems more like somebody that should be a role player at this point. So if you're expecting him to come back and give you, 20 and 8, I think that's probably too much. If you're expecting what Derrick Rose has given the Knicks and the Pistons, that's more realistic. For John Wall, but I just think if Paul George and Kawhi are healthy, then they can win any game against any team.
I agree. I mean, I just who do they have around them though? I mean, like outside of that, they have Ibaka, Zubac.
Didn't they just sign Royce? Oh no, that was the Nets. I don't think it matters. Even if they're running back their team from last year, those 2, Reggie, John, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. They were fine last year with just Paul George. You realize this. They were a playoff team with just Paul George. If they can just get to the playoffs with a healthy John Wall being a role player and a healthy Kawhi and Paul, they can go toe-to-toe with anybody.
I wanted to talk about Victor Wembanyama. We're just at the
This kid's a freak, and he's so frail. And I know we can't get into a full conversation about him, but he's so tantalizing as a prospect, but I'm so convinced he won't stay healthy, much like Chet Holmgren. I just don't think
he has no weakness.
except for durability and the ability to put weight onto that frame.
Did you see the picture of him next to Rudy Gobert?
Yes.
And Rudy Gobert is like, I feel short. That was so great.
But Rudy Gobert still looks like two of him, and Rudy Gobert is a slender center.
Yeah.
This kid is like maybe 210. I don't care what he's listed
I just think it's okay to be 210 when you're 18, Frankie. I mean, how many kids have we seen like get a couple PB&Js in this kid? I feel like this kid could easily add 20 pounds the next couple off seasons. And
my fear with doing it that dramatically is it usually doesn't work out like Giannis. It usually doesn't work out like this kid. Dwight Howard was different than Giannis. Giannis flat out had to put on weight. Dwight Howard had to take some of the baby fat off, turn it into muscle, but he was a bigger guy because he's always been listed at 6'11" when he's 6'9". He was always a thick guy. It's just that he went from chubby to looking like Iron Man. But this kid's going to go from frail, tiny, to hopefully being, 230, 220? If he's going to play center, like even Wiseman is skinny. He's not this kid. This kid's skinny.
And so last thing, we're a couple minutes over, but I do want to ask you this. We'll leave the show on this. Lakers over under this year is 44.5 wins. Are you over or under 44.5 wins for the Lakers?
Pushing the over. Going over, expecting them to have a good regular season, expecting if LeBron's healthy for them to go deep. I think it's LeBron's final year to actually be a needle mover. I think he'll still continue to accumulate statistics long enough to play with his kids, but it's probably his last year as a needle mover. He has been injured all but 1 year. He's been in LA. They won a championship that year. So it's really about the health of him and AD. It's got nothing to do with Westbrook. They'll be fine if AD and LeBron play 50 games. If they play 50 games together, they'll win more than 44.
All right, you heard it there. Appreciate everybody for tuning in this week. That's going to do it for Frankie and myself, and we'll catch you next week, same time, same place. Actually, we are looking to team up with old producer Brian, and so we actually may be in a different location potentially, but some exciting things coming, and appreciate everybody for tuning in. We'll see you then. Take care.